So this is the 2020 BMW Z4 S-Drive 20i. And I have to say, it's an absolutely stunning thing to look at. I mean, just the way it's styled is just fantastic to me, and I think BMW have really reinvented the Z4 very, very well. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick walk around now, just have a look at some of these styling cues. Now you can see on the front we've obviously got the larger than normal new style BMW kidney grills, and I don't think they look too bad actually. It kind of fits this car, which has quite a wide road presence actually, and I think it actually works pretty well. We have of course got a couple of fake vents on this 20i model. I'm not 100% sure if these are actually open on some of the higher end models like the 40i, but it's interesting. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the closed vents, but you know what, it adds to the style a little bit and it does look pretty good. You can also see we've got this really nice crease line that runs right from the front wheel arch all the way to the back tail lights. It just looks really good. Really gives it a nice aggressive road presence. Now moving around to the rear of the car, you can see we've got this very nice lip spoiler as well that sits on the rear deck lid. And actually from a side profile, this car just looks absolutely fantastic. The way that line comes down the side and almost blends into this lip spoiler, it just looks absolutely brilliant. We've also got the two twin tailpipes on either side. Again, they create a really nice sound as well, which we'll show you out on the road. But yeah, overall, I think it just looks fantastic. My favourite angle has to be that side profile. It just looks really good from there. Now you can see on this, we've got the 19-inch alloys paired with those M Sport brake calipers. I'm a big fan of good looking brake calipers, and these ones look fantastic, both front and rear. These are paired with the Michelin Pilot Super Sport tyres. We've got a 255 section on the front and a 275 section on the rear. Just so much mechanical grip with this. These are quite wide tyres as well for such a small and light car. So yeah, that works really, really well, and again, it just looks brilliant. So the interior of the Z4 is actually a very familiar place. We've got BMW's latest iDrive system, and we've got much of this interior which is shared with other BMW models as well. But that's really not a bad thing. It's very, very nicely done. Nice used materials, as I say. Very nice buttons as well. It's very tactile. We've got all these nice little metal buttons, and just everything feels nice to the touch, which is important with the price of this car, which is in excess of £40,000. There's also actually a surprising amount of space in here. A lot of people would probably see this and think, oh, it's quite small, it's not very practical, but there's a lot of storage space. We've got two cup holders back there for little bits and pieces. There's also loads and loads of foot space and a big glove box as well. So obviously the Z4 is convertible, and you might think, yeah, you get a lot of wind noise and things, but honestly you don't. Even with the roof down, it's really not too bad if you've got these windows up. There's a wind deflector on the rear as well, which helps to reduce that noise. And if you've got the roof up, I can honestly tell you it's like being in a coupe. It's so quiet on the road, very, very little wind noise. So BMW has done a fantastic job there. And also that top comes up and down in a very short period of time. It just takes no time at all, very easy to do. And obviously you can do it on the move as well up to a certain speed, so that's great. One of my favourite bits about this interior has to be those seats. I think it's a perfect balance between kind of a level of aggression and making them comfortable as well. They also look really nice to touch with a sort of almost like diamond quilt effect on the upper section of those. And again, it just makes you realise that what you're paying for here is a very high quality product. One of the most surprising features for me of the BMW Z4 was just how much boot space there is. I mean, if you just take a look in there, it's really quite incredible. It's not all that high, obviously, because the roof needs to fold down into this upper section here, but it goes a really long way back, and there's even a little hatch, I guess, for skis if you wanted to put those through. But honestly, we've had no issues with sticking all the camera equipment in here as usual. So yeah, it's surprisingly practical, this thing. It's one thing I can definitely tell you. The sports car section of the current car market is a very interesting one for me, as it's one that's kind of become more and more relevant actually as time has gone on. It seems like these days people demand more and more from their cars, especially when it comes to being an all-rounder and something that can kind of do a little bit of everything. For example, we're seeing these high-performance SUVs, high-performance variants of estate cars and saloon cars. So there's just less and less of these types of cars. But does that actually mean they are irrelevant? Well, I don't think it does. I've been massively impressed by this BMW Z4 20i, which of course has that 2-litre 4-cylinder single turbo that's twin scroll. It's a very familiar engine actually at this point, and as I've said before in other videos, it's used massively across the BMW and Mini range. In this state of tune, it offers 197 horsepower and 236 foot-pounds of torque, which I suppose is probably enough for most people. This being more of a driver's car, I suppose it's kind of set up in a way to handle better and not necessarily be fast point to point or 0 to 60 in top speed. And from the moment you get into this thing, it just screams driver's car. I mean, this seat is really nice and low. We've got this amazing view out over the top, and just everything just feels nicely set up. It just really sort of instills confidence in the driver. And of course, with that roof down, we've got some really nice exhaust noise as well, which is quite impressive in this thing. The 197 horsepower probably doesn't sound like all that much. This car weighs about 1,430 kilos. It's not the lightest thing out there, and it doesn't feel like the quickest car in the world, if I'm totally honest. But it feels quick enough. I think in this day and age, it's almost like people have become a little bit greedy for power. And it's only when you get in something that has slightly less power like this that you realise maybe you don't need all that much power. Some nice turbo noise there. And power builds right up. Because this engine is kind of quite held back in its tune, power actually builds really nicely, almost quite linear, right out to the red line. Peak torque comes in from around 1,500 RPM and stays on till about 4,500. So that just gives you an idea of how much torque there is to use. And ultimately, that's what you feel and need when you're driving. The suspension, of course, in a car like this is quite firm, and especially on the damping, it does feel quite firm on some of these British B roads. But, I mean, I'd probably be complaining if it wasn't firm and this thing was wallowing all over the place. So I think it works absolutely fine, and it is relatively comfortable, to be honest. The brakes just feel fantastic in this. The brakes that BMWs are using on their everyday road cars, i.e. not the M cars, are just fantastic. They've got such a good positive bite. They seem to just never fade, unless obviously maybe using it on track, but for public road use, yeah, these are just so well set up. Very powerful, especially for a car that doesn't weigh all that much and isn't all that fast. The steering as well is really nice and precise. It's quite a fast rack. And even the steering wheel doesn't feel too fat. There was a period where on BMWs the steering wheels were just stupidly fat, and actually this one feels pretty nice. We've got the really nice paddles as well that are right behind the wheel there and easy to access. And on that point, of course, we've got the ZF 8-speed transmission, which is as good as ever. Nice quick shifts, and in fact once you've got it in sport mode, the shifts are even quicker, and it really does sort out those rev matches nicely. I suppose you could ask the question of, does it feel like it's lacking driver involvement by not having a manual box? Yes, I think it does to an extent. It would add another element of driver experience if you could have a manual box in this thing. But we're just at the point now where there's just less and less manual boxes around. I mean, it's really not surprising that there isn't one on this Z4. But I think it works. You stick this thing into manual mode and it does work really well. You can still have quite a bit of fun in it and obviously control those shifts quite nicely yourself. Of course, these days we've got endless amount of filters and exhaust systems just to try and help to reduce emissions, but it's really actually quite impressive how much noise comes from that thing. We've even got some nice pops and little crackles as well. So the Z4 in the UK starts from just under £40,000, and the 20i model like this, as spec'd, is around about £42,000 when new. So, I mean, at that price point, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because arguably you could get yourself into a slightly older, kind of like first generation M2, maybe that would be a much better driver's car, but I think honestly the people that are buying these things aren't buying it for those reasons. The people that buy this thing probably want to use it as more of a car they can enjoy a little bit and have a little bit of fun in sometimes. Arguably as well, people that, especially who are buying the 20i model, may not be as bothered about out and out speed and performance, but more just kind of won over by the looks of the thing, and there's no denying this thing just looks absolutely stunning. Being a convertible, you might be put off by the fact that in places like the UK you can just never have the roof down. Currently it's 5.5 degrees and raining, and I have the roof down and I'm perfectly warm. We've got a steering wheel heater, heated seats, I've got the nice warm air blowing through. Honestly, it's really not too bad. And I must say, with that roof down, that exhaust just sounds absolutely fantastic. I suppose then, to conclude, is this section of the market, and the BMW Z4 for that matter, actually still relevant? Yes, it definitely is. I think it's almost a shame that we're seeing less of these cars these days, and you can only hope that maybe going forward we will start to see more of these sports cars, but currently consumer demand just really isn't at the same levels as it once was. As I mentioned earlier, people are just looking for different things in their cars these days, and as car prices creep up a bit, as people are financing more, I just think people demand more and more from their cars, and they don't want something that they can only use on a weekend or on certain days of the week. And it's a shame, because you can really go out and have a lot of fun in cars like this. And I think that the way BMW have revived the Z4 really does do it justice, and it's just overall a fantastic car. I would highly recommend one if you're kind of in the market for something like that. Now, I'd like to say a massive thanks to Cooper Teesside BMW for making this review possible. I'd be very appreciative if you could check out all their links in the description below, and if you're
2023 Audi TTS Coupe Review, the final hurrah. The original Audi TT wowed the world when it burst onto the automotive scene in the late 90s. In the two subsequent generations, Audi has modernized its iconic design without taking away its instantly identifiable character. That remains true of the 2023 Audi TTS, which forms the middle ground of the third-generation sports car lineup below the full-fat TTRS. While competitors of the Audi TTS have evolved, the Nissan Z now solidly outguns the Audi. Others like the Toyota GR Supra and Porsche 718 Cayman are still within reach of Audi's junior sports car. With its 288 horsepower turbocharged four-cylinder engine and Quattro AWD system, it remains quick, but the rivals are formidable, and the TTS Coupe might struggle to make an impression without an obvious USP to sway buyers. If you've set your heart set on one, your time is running out though, because it looks like the 2023 model year might be the TT's last. 2023 Audi TTS Coupe handling and driving impressions. The TTS is still fun to drive, even after all these years. It doesn't set any new standards, but there is lots of grip, mid-corner ruts and ridges fail to upset it, and it flies through the bends with quick responses and a sense of fun, partly because it's lighter than most of its rivals at less than 3,200 pounds. This is no Larry Taillout rear-wheel drive muscle car, though, and you'll enjoy it more for its unshakable composure, pleasingly comfortable ride, and quattro grip on any surface. The turbo 4-pot may deliver just 288 horsepower and 280 lb-ft, but with its light frame and rapid-fire 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, this is still enough to sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a swift 4.4 seconds, although it has to be said that most rivals are faster nowadays. The rather lifeless steering, that slightly nose-heavy feel, and the lack of a manual transmission are reminders that it's no hardcore sportster. It sits on the familiar MQB platform after all, with a front-biased AWD system, just like an A3. Verdict: is the 2023 Audi TTS Coupe a good sports car? Audi has done enough to keep the 2023 TTS Coupe kicking and sales ticking over even at the end of a long production run. If you just want a swift, stylish coupe with grippy handling and an elegant interior, you can do worse. However, at a starting price of around $61,000, its case looks feeble, and a review of the Audi TTS Coupe's rivals will demonstrate why. The 3.0-liter performance coupes from Toyota and Nissan massively undercut it on price and offer you the tantalizing option of a manual transmission. It might be faster and $2,000 cheaper than a base 718 Cayman, but it cannot touch the mid-engine Porsche's class-leading handling prowess either. However, the real eye-opener has to be that you can get a 490 horsepower mid-engine C8 Corvette for that same $2,000 premium over a TTS coupe. The Corvette blows the Audi out of the water in terms of performance and is a hardcore, mid-engine sports car with dramatic styling and a real sense of occasion that the Audi cannot hope to emulate. Amid these odds, the latest Audi TTS Coupe is now beyond its sell-by date. 2023 TTS Coupe Exterior. The TTS is a beautiful and angry-looking thing, much like Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street. The sharply designed LED headlights set off the gloss black honeycomb grille perfectly, adding to the menacing appearance of the coupe. The same design ethos continues at the rear in terms of sharpness, but the smooth flow of the horizontal lines gives the TTS that curvy posterior we've come to love, topped by an electrically deploying rear spoiler. For chrome circles poke out of the diffuser to announce the coupe's performance focus, and 10Y-spoke 20-inch wheels are standard, with various others optionally available. Dimensions. When we look at the size of the TTS, it is immediately clear that it is a fair amount smaller than rivals like the Porsche 718 Cayman and Toyota GR Supra. The TTS is 165 inches long, making it shorter than both of its mentioned rivals by a couple of inches. It rides on a 98.6-inch wheelbase and has a width of 72.1 inches excluding mirrors and a low-slung 53.3-inch height. Its compact dimensions allow it to boast a relatively light curb weight of 3,263 pounds, despite the standard Quattro all-wheel drive. Exterior colors. There are still 8 exterior colors to choose from for the Audi TTS, but they don't all carry over from last year. Ibis White and Turbo Blue are the only 2 standard hues that you can opt for. Last year, Turbo Blue was an extra cost hue and this year it's free. Pulse Orange, previously a standard color, isn't offered anymore. The other 6 can be had for an additional cost of $595 and they are all metallics. The range with extra sparkle includes Glacier White, Mythos Black, Daytona Gray Pearl, and Chronos Gray, the latter replacing the discontinued Nano Gray. Navara Blue is new for this year. Tango Red Metallic rounds the range off. If you opt for the new bronze package, it can only be had with Chronos Gray, Glacier White, or Mythos Black paint. Audi also makes a host of exclusive special paint colors available upon request for $3,900. 2023 TTS Coupe Interior. The interior of the TTS is proof that sometimes you can keep something simple and it'll still be gorgeous. Devoid of a center infotainment screen, all of Audi's tech is housed in the digital instrument cluster. All of the interior components are clad in upscale materials and the build quality of the interior is impeccable. It must be said that while the interior of the TTS is simple, that doesn't translate to it being Spartan. The standard fitted features are as generous as most would expect from a car that sits at this price point. The biggest flaw of the interior is that it's not as spacious as rivals, but its merits make up for that. Seating and interior space. Audi claims that the TTS is capable of seating 4 occupants with 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Realistically, a self-respecting adult cannot hope to find a comfortable place to sit at the back of this bijou coupe. The front is far more accommodating though, which means that the driver won't be short on any leg or headroom. Even if the rear seats can't really be used for passengers, they can still be used as an extra means of storage if the trunk is full. As standard, the TTS boasts 12-way power-adjustable front seats with 4-way lumbar support. Overall, the seating is comfortable and supportive enough for everyday use. Interior colors and materials. The interior of the TTS is filled with high-quality materials from leather to carbon fiber. No matter what option you choose, the inside will retain its minimalist and sporty appearance. There are several fine Nappa leather upholstery options available in different colors. These include the black, rotor gray, black with red stitching and express red. The standard interior trim is brushed aluminum, and carbon fiber can only be opted for by ticking the box for the competition package, in conjunction with the express red leather upholstery and specific exterior colors, Glacier White, Mythos Black, or Tango Red. 2023 TTS Coupe Trunk and Cargo Space. The TTS may be short on space for its rear passengers, but it has quite a generous trunk. It's not truly practical, which is to be expected from a car in this segment, but it will easily manage luggage for two going away for the weekend. The TTS offers a 12 cubic foot trunk. The Cayman does have the upper hand in this department because it's got a 9.7 cubic foot trunk and a 5.2 cube frunk. The rear seats in the TTS fold flat to allow for larger items in a pinch. In-cabin storage is certainly manageable thanks to a moderately sized glove box and slim door pockets. 2 cup holders are also standard.
Thanks for watching. Drop a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to watch more videos like this.